The line is still energized, 230,000 volts. Why are they not shutting it down?
The monitoring drones showed a ground crew preparing. I assumed it was a standard outage.
But the line's voltage held steady. On the screens, a tiny human figure pulled on a bright yellow suit woven with metal mesh. The Melora safety database flagged the material as conductive, not insulating. The human was preparing to touch a live 230,000 volt line.
He can't possibly survive that. It's suicide.
A helicopter with a long metallic stinger moved into position beside the transmission tower.
What is that apparatus? It looks like a bonding probe.
It can't be. No species bonds to a live line at that voltage without catastrophic arc flash. File a preliminary Class 1 welfare emergency. Human male about to make physical contact with a 230,000 volt conductor.
The alert raced across the Melora network. Thousands of light years away, a response team began to mobilize. But they were too late to stop what came next. The alien drone's camera zoomed in on the human's face. He was calm, almost bored, as he checked his conductive gloves and adjusted his hard hat.
Ready when you are, Rick.
Roger that. We're cleared for the climb. Let's get you on the line.
They're actually ascending. The line is still carrying 230,000 volts, and they're going up without a shutdown.
Survival probability is 0. That suit is not insulation, it's metal.
The helicopter lifted off, its shadow racing across the fields as it climbed steeply toward the tower.
Should we transmit an emergency warning? We could override their frequency.
Number. Any unexpected signal might startle them. A crash would be worse.
At 240 feet, the helicopter leveled beside the humming line. A long metal stinger telescoped out, pointing directly at the live cable.
They've committed. All we can do now is watch a human being destroyed by 230,000 volts.
Inside the helicopter, Brian gripped the stinger control. He eased the long metal probe toward the high-voltage cable.
Contact in 3, 2.
A blinding blue arc snapped between the stinger and the line. The helicopter vibrated for a split second, then steadied.
No voltage drop. The line is still carrying full 230,000 volts. The helicopter is now part of the circuit.
The arc confirms bonding. The human is now at line potential, but he hasn't stepped out. He still has a chance to abort.
Bond is good. Brian, you are clear to exit. Watch your step.
He's actually going to do it. No hesitation. This isn't ignorance, it's deliberate.
Brian unclipped his harness and swung his legs over the skid, reaching for the live conductor with a gloved hand.
Class 1 welfare emergency. Human male is exiting the helicopter onto an energized 230,000 volt conductor. Probability of survival, 0.
The drone feed showed Brian's boot touch the stranded cable. In the observation room, no one breathed. Brian's full weight settled onto the cable. The air around him instantly lit up with crackling blue energy, wrapping his body in a ghostly corona.
He's not dead. The arcs are there, but he's standing. He's actually standing on it.
He took a casual step along the cable as if he were walking on a sidewalk, not a humming river of death at 230,000 volts. From his belt, he drew a wrench and knelt beside a cracked insulator, arcs hissing through the mesh of his gloves.
Impossible. Every known law says he should be dead. Yet he works.
Brian began to whistle, a tuneless little melody that echoed inside his helmet. His face, visible through the shield, held the faintest grin.
He's actually working on it. Like it's nothing. Like it's a routine chore.
The voltage hasn't dropped a single volt. It's still 230,000, and he's alive. No insulation, no protective field, just that metal suit.
For 47 minutes, Brian worked. He replaced the shattered insulator, his movements unhurried, as blue arcs danced harmlessly across his yellow mesh. In the observation room, no one moved. The Class 1 welfare emergency had already been sent, but the human refused to die. PES-4 began a frantic diagnostic, rechecking every sensor on the line. Voltage, current, phase angle, all readings remained textbook perfect.
The line is fully functional. There is no fault, no partial outage. It's carrying the exact load it was designed for.
Yul then scrolled through human biological databases, grasping for any anomaly. A wild theory began to form.
Perhaps humans have a naturally resistive epidermis. Some death world species develop insulating tissues against environmental threats.
On the holographic screen, Brian's yellow suit glittered with arcs that danced across the mesh, but never penetrated to his body.
Biological insulation. Number: the drone's medical scans show standard organic tissue with no unusual density. He's not resistant. He should be dead.
What if the stinger somehow created a localized de-energized zone? Maybe the current is bypassing the section he's standing on.
Impossible. The tower sensors show full potential at every insulator. The circuit is complete. There is no bypass.
They watched, caught between the evidence of their instruments and the impossible image of a human calmly repairing a live line.
This violates the second law of industrial safety. No organic being should survive direct contact with a lethal potential. It is a physical impossibility.
Brian tightened the last bolt on the new insulator, the arcs now a familiar shimmer around him. He gave a satisfied nod. The Melora observation drone drifted closer, its camera lens focusing on the human's face.
Just a closer look, huh?
Then, as naturally as if greeting a neighbor, he raised a gloved hand and waved directly at the drone.
Did he just wave at us? He knows we're watching.
That was no accidental gesture. He signaled deliberate awareness. He expects us to observe.
Yul then furiously searched human technical archives, but found no mention of working on live high-voltage lines. It was as if the technique didn't exist.
The human safety manuals all prescribe de-energization for any voltage above 50 volts. There's nothing about live line maintenance.
This is not a known Earth method. It's either a military secret or a complete anomaly. Upgrade the incident classification to potential technological anomaly. This could be a deliberately hidden capability.
The observation room door slid open. Dr. Zarna strode in, her technological visor glowing with data, lab coat swirling.
I was pulled from the theoretical department. What possible emergency requires immediate senior research?
Observe the main screen. A human male has been on that energized 230,000 volt line for 47 minutes, performing repairs. He is alive.
Run the remote diagnostic on his suit again. I need to see the electrical field distribution.
On the display, blue lines traced the current flowing across the mesh surface, never penetrating to the body within.
The suit is a conductive mesh. Why would a safety garment not use insulation? It's like wearing a lightning rod.
Because it's not insulation, it's a cage. An old human concept called a Faraday cage. The metal skin creates a field-free interior.
A cage. That ancient shielding principle. But he's wearing it on a live line.
If the suit conducts and his skin is at the same potential as the line, there is no voltage across his body. The current flows around him, not through.
PES-4 stared at the ancient diagram, then at the live feed where Brian's gloved hand was still arcing. The horror on his face slowly shifted into something else.
The suit's metallic mesh has a resistance thousands of times lower than human flesh. The current takes the path of least impedance.
On the holographic simulation, voltage lines flattened across the suit's outer surface, leaving the interior at zero potential. Brian touched a conductor with a bare wrench. A bright spark jumped, but he continued without flinching.
He's at the line's potential. No voltage difference across his body. That's why there's no shock.
But if there's a single flaw, a pinhole, the current finds a path through him. He dies instantly.
That risk is real, but he trusts the suit and the bonding procedure. It's remarkable.
Brian snugged down the last bolt, then stood and stretched on the cable, tools dangling. He began gathering his equipment, the blue corona now a familiar halo around his yellow suit.
He's finished. He's going to descend. And he hasn't been harmed. This changes everything.
We understand the physics, but our safety doctrines say no. How do humans reconcile this?
Brian raised a hand toward the helicopter. The stinger was retracted slightly as he prepared to rebond for egress. He extended the stinger once more, and a familiar arc snapped as it touched the line, re-establishing the bond.
All clear, Rick. Bring me home.
Copy. You are secure. Let's get you back to the ground.
The helicopter peeled away. On the ground, medical scanners would later confirm 0 injuries, no burns, no current exposure.
I am filing a formal report to Earth's authorities. This practice is reckless. They must be warned.
No, PES-4. This is not recklessness. It's a different safety paradigm. We must study it, not condemn it.
The response team is already on standby. We can meet him at the landing zone and ask questions instead of sending accusations.
PES-4's hand hesitated over the transmit key. Then he closed the screen.
Dispatch the team, but minimal intrusion. We observe, we learn, and we do not interfere until we understand.
The helicopter touched down in the grassy field. Brian hopped out, yanked off his hard hat, and stretched his back. Then he froze. A sleek black craft, silent and impossibly shaped, was descending a few hundred yards away.
Well, I'll be. Guess the drone had friends.
The alien shuttle settled without a sound, kicking up a cloud of dust. A hatch opened seamlessly. 3 purple-skinned figures emerged, their beige uniforms stark against the green prairie. PES-4 led, a translator device clutched in his hand.
Human male Brian, we observed your activity. You have survived contact with a lethal voltage source. Please explain.
Yeah, it looks worse than it is. You guys want a coffee or something? I can show you the gear.
He's not afraid. He's offering us refreshments.
The aliens exchanged glances, their huge eyes reflecting a mixture of horror and disbelief. A moment later, Brian waved them toward his truck, still grinning. First contact had never been so casual. Brian led them to the back of his truck, where his yellow suit and gear were stowed. He pulled out the metallic mesh and held it up.
You are using a conductive enclosure to create an equipotential field, a personal Faraday cage.
Exactly. The suit acts like a personal safety cage. Electricity goes around me, not through me.
He pointed to the mesh, then to the holographic diagram Dr. Zarna had conjured.
As long as there's no voltage difference across my body, I am safe. I am part of the circuit, at the same potential.
But you have to bond first. The stinger equalizes the potential before you touch the line.
Right. That's what the stinger does. Once I am bonded, I am just another part of the line.
You trust this with your life.
Every day. It's my job.
The aliens stared at the human, who had just made 230,000 volts sound like a household chore.
But a single pinhole in the mesh, a tiny tear, and the current would find a path through your body. How do you mitigate that?
Every suit gets a high voltage test before each job. We check the mesh for continuity. If it fails, it's scrapped. The mesh is flame resistant too. We verify the stinger bond with a voltmeter before stepping out. I've done this 1,000 times. We have a saying, trust your gear, but check your gear, but check your gear.
They've institutionalized the risk mitigation. Every step is verified.
Your species treats high voltage as just another workplace hazard.
Well, it's a hazard. You just gotta respect it and know your physics.
PES-4 was silent for a long moment, his mind wrestling with a practice that violated his deepest training and everything he had ever known about industrial safety. But the evidence was irrefutable. The human was not lucky. He was following a meticulously engineered procedure, with checks at every step. Dr. Zarna's stylus flickered as she took note after note, her expression shifting from doubt to something approaching awe.
For millennia, we believed no species could safely work on energized circuits above 10,000 volts. Yet you simply wear the right clothes,
her voice cracked, and then a laugh escaped her, a sound of pure, almost delirious relief. She wiped at her large, brimming eyes.
It's so simple. Why didn't we ever think of it?
Millennia of safety doctrine, built on the wrong assumption. My entire career, a monument to ignorance.
We're just stubborn, I guess. If something needs fixing, we find a way to do it.
PES-4, we must rewrite the entire curriculum. This changes everything.
I know, but accepting this means admitting my life's work was limited, built on fear, not physics.
The words hung in the air, heavier than the Wyoming sunshine. No one contradicted him.
Then we build anew. This is not a failure. It is an evolution, and we owe it to the galaxy to share it.
PES-4 said nothing, but his silence was not refusal. It was the silence of a man watching his world rearrange itself.
What about lightning? An unexpected surge. What prevents instant death if nature intervenes?
If there's a storm in the area, we don't fly. We have radar. We monitor weather constantly. Safety first.
But even a distant strike could induce a surge. Your suit wouldn't protect against that.
The stinger acts as a surge path. The line's shielded. But if there's any lightning, we don't fly.
PES-4. It is a managed risk. Like all engineering, their risk tolerance is simply higher.
But one mistake, one equipment failure.
We train for that too. We've got fail-safes, but yeah, it's high stakes. That's why we respect the voltage.
PES-4 looked at his voltage meter. It still read 230,000 volts. Slowly, deliberately, he closed it. Behind him, the transmission line hummed, arcs still crackling, as if daring anyone else to touch it. The human had tamed the untamable, and all it took was a cage of wire and a refusal to give in to fear.
All right, let's take a load off. I've got a thermos of coffee in the truck.
A moment later, they were perched on the tailgate. 3 aliens and 1 human, with cups of steaming black coffee.
Look, I get it. It's scary. But people need electricity. We can shut down the line, sure, but that blackout hurts folks, so we work it live.
You value the uninterrupted supply of energy over individual safety. That is an interesting trade-off.
Not over safety. We just don't see doing the job right as unsafe if you are trained and equipped.
Our safety doctrine says always de-energize. Always. It is the first rule.
That's one way. Ours is another. Both can be valid depending on the situation.
Dr. Zarna made a note on her tablet. Humans distinguish between safe and unsafe risk within a defined procedure. PES-4 remained silent, his coffee untouched, staring at the horizon where the transmission lines marched away.
You know, sometimes you just gotta trust the people who know the work. We're not daredevils. We're professionals.
PES-4. I have drafted a preliminary technical paper. It could save lives across the galaxy. Hiding it would be a greater safety failure than anything we witnessed.
If we publish, we admit our own protocols are insufficient. That will cause panic. Galactic safety agencies will question everything we've taught.
Panic is temporary. Ignorance is fatal. Think of the thousands of species that could adopt this method. We must share it.
It's our duty to disseminate this. PES-4. If we suppress it, we are liable for every future death that could have been prevented.
PES-4 looked at the paper title on Zarna's tablet. Live Line Maintenance, Earth Methods for Pre-Industrial Worker Application.
We witnessed a miracle of applied physics. Don't let pride stand in the way of progress. This paper will rewrite safety science.
PES-4 closed his eyes, the weight of millennia of doctrine pressing down on him. Then, slowly, he opened them.
Let me speak to the human once more. I need to hear it from him directly. The philosophy behind this practice.
Dr. Zarna nodded, a tear of relief welling anew. Yulven stepped aside, clearing the path. The paper on the tablet still glowed, awaiting a final word, and so the fate of the galaxy's safety regulations rested on the next words of a Wyoming lineman finishing his coffee. PES-4 walked to where Brian sat and clasped his hands in the Melora sign of deepest respect, a gesture no human had ever witnessed.
Human Brian, on behalf of my bureau, I ask you to demonstrate and explain your live line procedures so we may record and teach them across the galaxy.
Of course. Happy to help. Let me walk you through the whole thing again, step by step.
He pulled the yellow mesh suit from the truck and began a detailed demonstration, pointing at the conductive weave, the glove connections, the bonding hook.
The suit isn't insulation. It's a short circuit around me. Any current flows through the mesh, never through my flesh.
I admit, I was wrong. This is not a violation of safety. It is another form of it.
Then, let us ensure every safety academy in the galaxy learns of this. We will make your methods the new standard.
Brian spent the next hour walking them through every piece of gear, every safety check, every instinct honed by years on the line.
So the entire procedure depends on maintaining the equipotential zone. One continuous, unbroken circuit around the body.
That's it. No magic. Just physics and a healthy respect for what that line can do if you let it bite you.
The paper is complete. Every diagram, every procedure, every word of Brian's demonstration. This will change safety science forever.
She uploaded it to the Galactic Safety Knowledge Base with an urgent flag. The title alone sent a shockwave. Live-lined maintenance, Earth methods for pre-industrial worker application. Within hours, it was the most viewed technical document in galactic history. Translations propagated across 1,000 species networks. On 1,000 worlds, safety officers stared at their screens, their mandibles or tentacles frozen in shock at the diagram of a human standing inside a 230,000-volt arc. The Galactic Safety Council convened an emergency session. The paper was tagged mandatory reading, priority alpha.
They're calling it the Wyoming method. Human linemen are being cited in academic journals that have existed for millennia.
For the first time in recorded history, a species had demonstrated safe operation on energized circuits above 100 kilovolts. The old limit of 10,000 volts became obsolete overnight. The paper's conclusion cut through every doctrine. Earth's live line maintenance is not reckless. It is a brilliant application of fundamental electromagnetism.
We once believed that safety was the absence of risk. Now, we see it as the presence of understanding.
And across the galaxy, in 1,000 safety academies, the first wave of alien students began to study the yellow suit and the man who wore it. In alien classrooms across the galaxy, the paper became mandatory. Instructors referenced Brian's wave of 2024. Pes Vor spoke at the Galactic Safety Summit. Thousands of delegates watched, their silence heavy.
We reacted with fear. The human reacted with physics. We saw suicide. He saw a closed circuit. That is the difference.
Dr. Zarna received the Keldar Prize for Industrial Innovation, the highest honor in safety science.
This award is for the linemen of Earth. They taught us that safety is not the absence of risk, but the presence of understanding.
The human delegation on the Galactic Council extended a formal invitation to Brian, requesting he address them. The Wyoming method entered the galactic lexicon. Safety engineers debated its implications in journals and forums. On Earth, a lineman in Montana saw the diagram and grinned. Yep, that's Brian. Show off. The Melora Safety Bureau rescinded the 10 kilovolt limit. The new standard, 500 kilovolts, with mandatory bonding and high above Wyoming. Brian climbed a new tower, the same faint grin on his face, unaware his name was already legend. A few weeks later, a compact alien communicator buzzed on the dashboard of Brian's truck. He picked it up, recognizing Pesvor's frequency.
Human, Brian, the Galactic Council requests your service. They want you to lead a new department at the Academy of High Energy Safety.
What's the salary?
100,000 galactic credits plus research stipends.
Buddy, I make more than that fixing lines. Plus, I'd miss the view.
He gestured through the windshield toward a transmission tower, the same structure that had nearly stopped an alien's heart.
You would risk your life for a view?
It's not risk, it's my life. I am good at it, and someone's got to keep the lights on.
He clicked off the communicator and stepped out of the truck, a lazy wave dismissing an entire galactic career. The offer floated away like steam from coffee. Brian's footprints led back toward the tower where the real work waited. A year later, linemen across the continent had grown accustomed to the small alien drones. It became a running joke to wave. PES-4 and Dr. Zarna visited Earth again. They found Brian at the base of a new transmission project.
Welcome back. Want to see a 500 kV job? We're upgrading a line next month.
Perhaps one day we will be brave enough to join you up there.
For the first time, PES-4 smiled. It was small, but it was small, but it was there. The Bureau's reports now cited Earth as the gold standard for high-energy environments. That afternoon, Brian climbed a new line. The arcs danced, and he waved at the drone from the ground. The aliens watched, not with horror, but with something like reverence. The drone captured the image: a human, a yellow suit, and 500,000 volts, all in harmony. And Brian kept the lights on. 2039. The helicopter lifted off, carrying a young lineman named Lucas toward the same transmission line that had once nearly stopped an alien's heart. He wore the same yellow suit, the same metal mesh, and as the Stinger bonded to the line, the familiar arc snapped. Lucas stepped out onto the conductor. The coronas erupted around him, a brilliant blue aura that would have once triggered a galaxy-wide alarm. Then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, he raised a gloved hand and waved at the hovering alien drone. Below, an older Brian stood by his truck, binoculars pressed to his eyes. A proud, knowing smile crossed his weathered face. Nearby, the alien observation post was now a permanent fixture, its researchers taking notes without the faintest trace of fear.
The humans of Earth taught us that safety does not mean the absence of risk. It means the engineering of survival.
Lucas worked with the same unhurried precision, replacing an insulator just as the sun began its slow descent. The transmission line stretched to the horizon, a silver thread connecting 1 million lives, and the lights stayed on, humming softly into the night.